And we are live. Good morning, good morning, good morning to my folks in YouTube land. Fix these lights. There we go. Or not. There we go. All right, a lot better. Good morning for those who are watching a little afterwards, after the fact. Of course, you can always catch this live this week, Monday through Friday at 7:30 a.m. Eastern. Catch it live for those who are able to and want to participate in the conversation. The conversation is really what drives this live. It's not just about reporting the news, but informing and educating, and not just my perspective. You'll, as many folks as I have on the stream, as many co-hosts as I have to participate in keeping us engaged on what's going on in Haiti, particularly in a business-centric manner and way. We do have some folks coming into the stream already. We got John Telesma. Good morning, my brother. Good to see you. Happy to see you this morning. We have a couple of things we'll be certainly talking about this morning. But first and foremost, we want to let you guys know, YouTube SeeJeanty is a thing, right? We have a bunch of content on there. Most recently, we have an Andu Pale with some veteran business people. We've been doing business in the country for over 30 years. In fact, they moved into the country during the embargo, right? And yet they've been able to be successful and have an upward trajectory of progress, despite the many difficulties of turmoil, right, in the country. And it shows that it certainly is possible. Certainly, it's not easy, but it certainly is possible, and it's certainly necessary because the jobs they've provided has had a ripple effect, certainly in the individual lives that have worked for them and with them, but also the reason why you can say there has been an effect is because there hasn't been enough of us to come back and do the same and overcome and build a network and share that information of how to be successful. And so that's why they're on camera. That's why they wanted to be on camera. That's why they wanted to talk and share their experience, right? And provide that perspective. And so do make it a point. The link for that conversation is below, but also, again, YouTube SeeJeanty, you'll see it. And it's important to keep yourself informed and particularly know that it is possible. The programming that we receive that disdains anything that looks like us, right? And says it's impossible. Just know that it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, and things will never change in the country until we say no. We're not going to buy into that. We're going to do business where we need to do business, and every other people who do business in Black communities and Black countries are doing very well, right? Every other group except us, right? In fact, I know even now on my SeeJeanty page, there's I don't ban people because it's important to have a wide girth of perspective, right? I don't believe in banning people. I think the country of America is where it is right now with Trump, because we've had a culture of, oh, you don't disagree with me? Are you a conservative? You voted for Bush? I'm banning you. I don't want to see you on my page. But that's what's happened. So you've had a siloing effect, right? That's allowed Trump to come out of nowhere, because all the liberals, have went out their way to ban anyone that didn't have a liberal view, and now they were just surprised out of nowhere. Well, how did the conservatives win? Because everybody I know, all my friends, were Hillary Clinton people. I don't understand, right? I don't get, how exactly. That's because you banned anybody with a different view, right? And so I leave folks on my page who post different things And a lot of them are saying, I told you, because they're like, I can't, I can't post anything negative. I have to, even though I get criticized for being naive and posting too positively, but when I do post something about the true reality, as I already have, let me be specific. They say I complain about Natcom, which is a telephone provider in the country, right? And I said, oh man, they're terrible. Ugh. Even though I have 2-3 other lines, and so and I have other companies I use to ensure that my business isn't affected because it's outsourcing business. So and so and they between the multiple options that I have for myself, I haven't had a day where I've been totally offline, right? Even though things may have been slow or difficult for a few hours, but I'm able to operate. I don't post all that nuance. I just specifically say, hey, Natcom is a pain in the butt. And out of nowhere, you get a few folks, I told you. And of course, the person they're always of Haitian descent themselves. The most negative people you ever meet about who talks negative about Haiti will always be another Haitian, guaranteed. Forget what Trump said. That's why I laughed when Trump said what he said. I'm like, that's a nice thing compared to what I hear other Haitians say about Haiti. What? Haiti's what? That's but and you get a couple negative folks come on the page and I told you, see, yes, see. And then on top of that, you have a couple folks who actually will follow up. Yeah, see, and they'll like it, right? And of course the point is that the conversations I have with Anupali, we are very honest, right? Very honest in the difficulties we face, and that we want folks to come in and engage and be part of the change, which is very important. But there's even an aspect in the conversation we had that said, hey, it was my favorite part. I need to make a clip and redrop that clip. It's that important. That says, hey, if you're over there, do you really have, and not engaging in the change, do you have, why are you spending so much energy in providing your opinion, right, when you're not willing to come and get dirt, help change things, right? Your opinion isn't helpful, especially when it's negative, especially when it's, I told you so, right? You're telling a guy or a group of people, I told you so, to the people who are actually on the ground driving change, right? Changing lives, folks. Right? Anyways, I got really early in my rant. let me pull it back, right? But it's a very good Anupali. I really advise you guys to go check it out. It provides a lot of quality added perspective to what we're trying to do here. And again, it's with Daniel and Kareem from Brun. We've been doing business in the country for over 30 plus years. Right? And of course, everything we talk about today will be on Haiti Biz News, HaitiBizNews.com, HaitiBizNews.com, right? Of course, we have a bunch of GoFundMe. We're still trying to do what we can to help the Bunge get back after being so adversely affected in the recent protests. And last I checked, they were pushing 26,000. Certainly, we'll have them to keep on chugging. So again, even if you haven't or aren't going to donate, do make sure that you share their GoFundMe. It's important to keep sharing it, right? Keep pushing it, and be consistent with it, right? And of course, share the stream, right? The quality of conversations, especially while we're live, improves. The more people are on the stream, and of course, even after the fact, there's been some episodes I've had to play back just so I can relearn. Like, I've learned some stuff really from the guys and women who are participating in the conversation, right? So make sure to share the stream, both while we're live and also after the fact, just to improve the knowledge sharing capacity of what we're trying to do here, right? All right, let's get started. Even though I've started a pretty long rant, you think we started, we weren't started just yet. Haiti Business News Show, Monday to Friday, bringing you news that's going to keep you informed, engaged, and reacting in the most optimal way for your business, investment, entrepreneurial activity. Today is the 23rd of October. Let's discuss. Let's talk about it. Anu Pale. Right? Got a couple guys and women in IG land. Good morning. Good morning. Of course, guys, as always, you can always catch the stream on YouTube or Facebook. There's a lot more qualitative things you can participate in on that stream. The IG is more of a backup, and I do it because I do see some folks prefer it, but still, just know that the primary kind of engagement is Facebook and YouTube, right? So, news stories for today. Of course, we got to talk about the protests and updates, right? Protests continue. There was a walk with thousands of participants from Lalu to Port-au-Prince, and it was again, well attended. It was also, very religious. It was had multiple denominations, and the religious sector really pushing right now for a change, and President Moise to leave. Right. Overall, I can tell you that in outside the hot zones, what I call hot zones, the downtown administrative area, Chamas, outside of the road that takes you to the home of the president, the overall effect of the protests are starting to dissipate. I can tell you, I was able to run errands from my office rather easily. We were schools are starting to open, right? There is certainly a degree of normalcy that's starting to happen. A lot of stores are starting to reopen. I'll bet a lot less employees, unfortunately, but a lot of stores are starting to reopen. A lot of schools have been open, but again, parents were a little uneasy about sending their kids to school, given that anything could pop off at any moment. But certainly there is a sense in many parts of the city that there is some normalcy coming back, but still the pressure has remained, and the tension is still here, and the groups across the board are still denouncing President Moise, and certainly I don't see him. I was going to say there's no way for him to do anything legitimate, i.e., post a prime minister without opposition. But as we've described already on the stream, once January rolls around, no election was able to be done this month. There's also an October election for the deputies and for the senators. There is no deputies elected, 0, and there's only 10 senators who still have a term, and that's not enough for decorum. So there is no Senate either. There is no parliament, and so starting January, the president will be able to rule by decree, right? And so, this is when we'll see if he had any vision, will, or capacity for leadership, because in effect, President Moise will be a king for the next 2.5 years of his term, able to do anything and everything he wants. And so again, now we will see, with no opposition stopping him, if he really, has any benevolency. If, of course, he doesn't get pushed out, right? You're still the opposition internationally, everything is still very aggressively going, trying to get him out. But if he is a benevolent person, if history is going to look back and say, we were wrong about President Moise, this is where we're going to find that out, right? And so, and on that same note, the Jovenel's current focus and fix at the moment has been really going after the one sliver of the opposition that I suppose he feels is easy to go after, which is the bourgeois. Because it's understood the bourgeois are friends of the people. And so basically a part of his speech, in addition to going after the electric companies that are strongly held by very symbolic people in the bourgeois class, he mentioned in his last speech that there was issues of loans and how certain people were getting very cheap loans at very cheap interest rates. And by the way, this is a shot. Of course, if you guys weren't paying it, didn't really know, this was a shot at Reginald Boulos, who had a very low interest rate loan for pushing somewhere from $1 million or somewhere between $500,000 to $1 million, and because it's a very subtle but not so subtle shot at him, right? Saying there's some when everyone else has to go to owner for a loan, they got to get interest rates of 20-30%, while those who at least potentially the most could afford that loan get a much lower rate. And this is what he said in his speech. And he was going to be going after that practice. And so there's been news that came out 2 days ago that ONA, the director, has revised the interest rates of many loans over $500,000. The only loans who wouldn't qualify are agricultural loans, loans that are done for agricultural production or whatever it may be. Those interest rates aren't going to be revised. But anything else are being revised, and they're being revised upwards of 5 to 10 basis points, right? 5 to 10% is what they're being increased to across the board. And this is President Moise's promise that certain benefits that the bourgeois are having is going away, right? And again, this is a shot, as I talked about yesterday's episode. If you haven't seen yesterday's episode, I think it was probably my top 5 most informative episodes that I've had because of the conversation we were having. So I would advise you guys to go back and go listen to that, skim through it, maybe go through double speed, or whatever it may be, because we did talk about how, and the big criticism that President Moise had his last speech was that he did not focus enough on the overall problems of the people. Again, the 30% inflation, the 40% devaluation of the wood, the fact that fuel shortages have continued, the fact that there's been no improvement in any facet of life in Haiti, from the fact that we've had decrease in jobs, a very slow growing GDP, and no hope, right? There is a certain expelling of hope in society. And then again, it doesn't just fall on President Moise, but that's what you get when you want to be president of a country like this. You get the blame. And he didn't talk about any of this, right? He focused explicitly on, the bourgeois, who he felt were financing the entire protest, right? The tone was that the entire protest is just a complete funding by the opposition, right? And he's focused now on getting and sort of fighting back with them. And that's sort of the two big tools he's using currently, which is the contracts that we'll talk about that later in the stream, and the owner loans, right? And he's following through with that, and that's really where things are currently. Okay, right? And let me take a look at what my Liberté Financière is saying here on YouTube. More and more hotels closing shop. Protesters, especially the opposition, should realize they are hurting their country. And we did talk about this at the top of yesterday's stream. We did talk about, I did list out, all the many different businesses that are being affected, either temporarily closing their doors, layoffs. Some of them are reducing the salaries of the staff. Others are just making their employees on call. And there's a subset that are also stating publicly, or at least being reported, that they're definite closures. But then when I reach out to my sources that are very close to the owners of these places, they're all saying, it's temporary, right? So a lot of the things that are being reported right now that as definite closures are, by every source that I have that are close in Haiti. Again, folks who are outside don't really appreciate how small Haiti is. Haiti is a small town, truly, especially of the business community, those who are engaged in commerce at a formal level, right? It's a very small town. It feels like it's a few hundred people, I swear. And it's not hard to get to or find anyone or what's going on. Really, it takes a quick text or a quick phone call to the cousin of, the wife of, or the friend, the guy who lives down the street of. What's really going on, man? And you get back, nah, it's just, I don't know what the news is talking about. It's a temporary closure, right? So again, a lot of the things you're hearing, all these hotels that you're hearing that are closing, definitely that's not what's going on. They're temporary closures because things are difficult right now, and the expectation is in a couple months things are going to come back. Now we'll see. We'll see if that's really the case. But I can tell you, someone, the guy on the inside, telling you guys these are temporary closures. Wherever you're hearing permanent closures, okay. But still, that's still bad news, though. Again, in a country like this, that's not a good thing. So but I'm just prefacing that to say it's not as bad as a definite closure would be, right? So let's just be clear with that. But thanks for that comment, my liberté financière. So the thing I do want to talk about is the electric companies, right? And just a quick update. We spent a good amount of time yesterday's episode on, or was it Monday's episode? The past two episodes were really good on the electric companies. I just want a quick update and the responses. SeeJeanty basically has doubled down. The president of SeeJeanty has responded and said, listen, pay us, we'll pay you, right? Pay us and we'll pay you. And they wrote this letter and so much expressing that. E-Power has also doubled down and saying, listen, we're not going to sign a new contract, right? The state has sent E-Power a new contract to sign, and here's what we stipulate. And the E-Power's like, no, we're not signing it, man. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to do a new bid process, which is how it's supposed to work. We're supposed to do open bidding, and then we'll bid. We'll see. We'll run the numbers, and we'll give a counter bid given what we can do, and then you can allow other people to come in and try to bid, right? But our contract and our obligations stipulate what the terms are, what the terms are going to stay at. And that's what the law says, right? And that's kind of where we're at. The state feels it can do this because both for SeeJeanty and E-Power, the actual formal contract that they've had actually expired. And the state has been just honoring the contract as was previously understood. Right, that was previously in effect. The terms, they just rolled it over. So the state feels it's in the right that it can now, because the contracts formally expired back in 2014. So the state feels like they can just it's been expired. So here's a new contract, right? And so, but these companies are pushing back, and also to understand, the state also feels it's in the right because a lot of these plants were actually state plants, right? State power plants that the state handed over to a private entity to manage, right? That's certainly what is the case for high track. That's certainly the case for high track, and that's in large part the case with SeeJeanty, with the fact that 3 of the 4 major facilities, power generation, I want to say master generators is what they really are, were actually built by the state, but then they maintained and upgraded it, right? And E-Power was a private partnership where the state built the facility, where E-Power helped with some of the organization and financing, but it's still for the state. The state built it, right? And then they managed it. So again, another reason why the state feels bold enough to make these demands is because the state built it. It's for the state, right? So that's kind of where I won't rehash too much of what we talked about already. Again, I got these great episodes that we talked about both Monday and yesterday, so do go back, revisit them for a much deeper dive in what we talked about, right? Before I move on to the next news story, let me take a look at the comments. We have Adam Narcisse saying that's absurd. Any interest rate over 5% is bad for business. As a business owner, I wouldn't accept that. That's certainly. So I was looking to participate in the private financing sector of Haiti for business ventures. even to buy a car, right? And even though I wasn't allowed to because my income primarily is from abroad, and I'm not really allowing myself to pay myself for my business yet. I'm just kind of like letting that roll over because my income isn't strictly from a Haitian entity. I can't, I don't qualify to be able to use banks, the Haitian banking system, which is something else that needs to change going forward, particularly for a new constitution. The diaspora should have access to the domestic financing system, right, for the benefit of the domestic financing system, because if we could get access, we can put those loans into much more productive facilities and vehicles. But that's a much deeper dive for another day, right? But even if I could, though, I don't think I would, because when I look at the interest rates for a lot of these loans, for example, a vehicle loan in Haiti, it's 30%. Let me say it again: a car loan in Haiti is 30%. I was like, yeah, I'm cool. What? Right? Okay, now remember, in America right now, if your credit's halfway decent, you can get a car loan for 3% actually. I think if you have a 700 or so credit score, you can get a car loan for 3%. You can get a home loan for about 5%, right? And so when I saw a car loan right now is 30%, and like 20% down or some stupid thing. To get, remember, in America, you can, for like $100 down, you can get a car as well. I was like, yeah, I'm cool. Right? So, and I say that just to say, loans in this country are very high. And by the way, when you look at the performance of different industries in the country, you see that consistently the banks in this country have never lost. Never lost. I'm trying to funnel my internal LeVar Ball, right? They've never lost, and the reason why is because they're charging 30% interest on loans, right? And the banking system has shown consistent growth in Haiti year over year, no matter what's going on. Even right now, with the fact that we are looking at negative GDP growth, the banking sector is showing positive returns and positive growth. Now you know why. Now you know why. But yeah, I was just responding there to Adam Narcisse's response there concerning ONA having very high interest rates. And again, ONA actually, relative to every other sector, actually has the lowest interest rates, right? Again, when 10 to 15% is considered low, certainly you have a problem, right? And you do. Word Life, good to hear. Was sad when I heard Best Western Petroville. Yeah, again, from my sources, is temporary, but time will tell. Ultimately, my liberty financier, we hope the situation becomes stable. I mean, people were saying that Africa remained in a war zone, but look how it's turning out. Africa is certainly improving in its opportunity, but that in itself is a long conversation to have, because again, when you look at why they're improving, it's in large part because they've moved away from the West. Right? Africa is improving because they're doing partnerships that aren't IMF. They're partnering with China, right? In large part, and wherever you see countries partnering with China, you're seeing growth, right? But that's a conversation to have another day, right? We can really make a whole episode on that. So let's pull back a little bit. World Life, I really feel the Haitian Constitution must try and find ways to incorporate diaspora. Absolutely, totally feel it. I mean, diaspora sending money. I mean, listen, we're sending $3 billion. The only reason why this economy isn't in total mess, right? We're talking about Democratic Republic of Congo level of bad, is because of the diaspora sending $3 billion, right? Over 30 to 40% of the GDP is being sent by the diaspora, right? So I totally agree with you. My liberty financier says, I know a lot of Haitians that they're hating the Western lifestyle, want to go back. Situation is forced. Absolutely, totally agree, right? Totally agree. And we got Adeline from Facebook. Good morning. Good to see you. Good morning. Good morning. Word life. So backwards countries in turmoil, massive poverty, inflation, yet the banks in that. Yeah, Haiti's yeah, that's, everything is backwards in Haiti. I went to a little corner store to buy some snacks. I got a little sugar fix in the afternoon. Saw a big old thing of Haitian American rice, right? A big old American flag and a big old thing of rice. And I asked the woman, I said, hey, how much did that rice cost you? She told me 250 good, right? Which is equivalent to, let's see, let me give that to you. Let me give that to you. Equivalent to about $3, right? Big old thing of rice, $3. I asked her, I said, hey, if you were to buy that same bag of rice, but Haitian rice, how much would it have been? She tells me it would have been 650 good for the same bag, right? And that is $7, more than double the price, right? And I say, that is why Haiti's in trouble. That is why no matter who's the president, Haiti is going to remain in a very poor, impoverished state, right? Because when you have a situation where imported critical goods like rice is less than half of what you can buy domestically, you have a problem, right? And so everything is backwards. Banks are making money in poverty. We have domestic goods that cost more than double. Imported goods, particularly when it comes to food. So Haiti is indeed in a backward spot. And until we engage those conversations, until we have so many of our folks abroad who are so focused on political change, but leave the economic issues undiscussed, Haiti is not going to improve. And that's why we're here. That's why we do Haiti Business News, to keep the economics and the business in front of the also necessary political changes that have to come. The last news story I want to talk about relates really to the geopolitical protectionism that is occurring in the world. Obviously, with the USA, America First policy, with Britain's Brexit, with China, the European Union, having issues in terms of financing their peacekeeping arm, right? And in particular with China, actually themselves having more reversing course and having a more outward philosophy under SeeJeanty, which is actually providing a little bit of hope for alternative folks who are able to sign up. The game is changing, right? And what you're seeing right now in Haiti, you're seeing a situation where, things are being allowed to play out, right? Where else they wouldn't have been able to play out in other situations, right? And it's important to understand that. And when you look at some of the massive protests that are happening across the world right now, they're really focused around inequality. When you look at Chile, there's massive. I mean, things I've been seeing out of Chile, and the protests happening there. It makes Haitian protests look like child's play. The Chileans are like, "Oh, you guys are looting? That's cute. We'll ram cars into propane facilities so we can all grab stuff, right? That's you guys are harassing police. That's cute." I saw a video where literally they're hitting a big old pan next to an ear of a cop, right? You guys like to burn tires. That's cute. Or they're a tire. Where they literally found bust into a tire complex and had a wall of tires being burned. Right. And that's what's happening in Chile. Of course, the source of the Chilean protest, for those who don't know, is related to a transportation increase for their metro, right? But there's a massive inequality. In fact, Chile ranks in terms of inequality the highest in all Latin America between the rich and the poor, and that's what's really driving that. Colombia, same thing. Colombia is experiencing massive protests right now, and that is related to corruption and the lack of investment in education, right? But all in line with an increasing inequality that's happening in the country, where you have a bourgeois and a political class that are fine and getting richer, and the rest of the Colombia not really seeing any benefit of what has been overall consistent growth for Colombia in the past couple of years. Ecuador, similarly has been engulfed in a massive protest. Their reason was related to fuel increase, also driven by the IMF, just like it was here in Haiti. And they want their president out, and they've been hitting streets aggressively for that in a kind of consistent pace. Same thing in Iraq. Iraq has also been seeing massive protests, street protests, because of a feeling of endemic corruption that exists in the class, in the political class. And of course, Hong Kong has been seeing protests, but that's a little different. It's really related to the imposition of China and communism into their very capitalistic and free society. So it's a little different from that perspective. But in all other mass protests happening right now, they're very similar to what's driving the protests here in Haiti, which is massive inequality, massive gains for certain people, and a Detroit, I can't say the word, a downsliding of the situation for the people as a whole, right? So the point of me sharing all this is to say, no one's coming to save Haiti. So we're in a very interesting situation here where we have an opportunity potentially to either allow things to finally be shaped by Haitians for Haitians, or we might be in a situation where things may go down very quickly with no break, right? With no break, and so it's a very uncertain time for Haiti, given the geopolitical things that are happening. I didn't want to talk about that very briefly. Um, so we don't know. We don't know how things are going to move, but certainly, if things are ever going to move in a positive direction, this is one opportunity for it to happen, right? So that's kind of where I want to end my discussions thus far. You know, there hasn't been um, massive updates to some of the news stories we're watching, right? And of course, I do want to remind folks that we did have a discussion yesterday about me moving to a weekly schedule, where we're going to not have it daily, move it weekly, because of the fact that I am not getting enough time to write my book entitled 101 Ways to Make Money in Haiti, a guide for folks trying to really um, be part of change and have ideas. And one of the things I always get is, yeah, I want to come back, Chris. I want to engage, but I don't know how. I don't know how to do it. And so basically, I really want to get on paper everything I've put out in my media, and really provide a sort of textbook for folks, right? And I really want to focus on that. I haven't been able to because we're in these shows. I do a lot of research beforehand, and then the actual streams can sometimes go up to an hour, and so that's all time that we could be doing for that. So I want to switch just to once a week on Sunday. So I just want remind folks that's going to happen starting at the end of this week. This will be the last week where I'm going to do the daily show. And once I get the book out, I do want to return back to the daily format, right? And so just then folks know that's coming. Take a look at the comments here. You Haitian are French in secret. I mean, protests in France, almost like Syria, almost a student protest in France, full looting, beating of police, and burning. Yeah, absolutely. And I forgot to mention Syria. Was it Syria? That's no, Lebanon actually. Lebanon is actually having similar protests related to inequality. Forgot to mention them on my list. And of course, France. I don't. France is France. you know, the geopolitical situation in France. Let's not get into that. Right. But I rather look at legitimate developing countries and their reasons for protests to compare ours to, not France. That still owes us billions of dollars in indemnity that we've had, for freedom. we'll leave that alone. May make some people mad, right? I'm surprised American media has not really covered the protests. Yeah, they've covered it very, very lazily, which is fine. Because trust me, the American media is not our friend when it comes to covering Haiti, right? In fact, I've seen the most coverage probably from Al Jazeera, actually, the most consistent coverage outside of Miami Herald, to be honest. And Trump doesn't care for one bit, which is a good thing, minus the fact that Jovenel votes his way. This is all he really cares about. And I'm starting to feel people in Haiti benefit from these circumstances. Of course, there are people who benefit from Haiti in the way the more dizzled things are, the more money they make, right? So certainly there is that. Let me take a look at IG. Uh, Kit Kat says, I would like to see some legitimate channels for diaspora to invest in viable businesses that produce profitable gains for diaspora investors. There is a website that is in late stages of existence that is called Miveste. Let me see. Let me take a look, see if I can find it. Voila, here it is. Miveste. There you go. Which is a crowdfunding platform for the diaspora to provide to Haitian entrepreneurs. I don't believe it's formally live yet, right? But I am in talks with the owner and founders, and it's incredibly inspiring idea. And again, it's let me type it in here for you. And it's MENVESTI, right? .com, right? And so that platform, I haven't necessarily used it yet, but it's supposed to allow just what you just said, right? It's a legitimate channel for you to provide income to business ideas or business ventures, startup business ventures that are going to happen in the country, right? So keep an eye on that website. Once they're fully live, because they're right now in their vetting process. They have a very long vetting process for any idea that goes on their website, and they work with analysts. They work with they're very structured in how they're going to go about this. They're not just giving out money. They're going to have these folks enroll in the program. They're going to be monitored very closely with KPIs, KRIs, and guided hand in hand to make sure that the money that they're given, they're going to give it back, right? And so I'm still watching how things are, and once things get certainly more formal, I expect a full SeeJeanty on location episode with the owners and some of the things going on. But just keep an eye on that. So things exist, right? And that's the thing you got to do, guys. You got to ask, right? A lot of the most biggest criticism is, I don't wait. The diaspora, they aren't working together. They're not. There's no one group that's talking to, and trying to push for change in the government. That's not true. And my response is always, have you ever asked? You're saying this, but have you asked which groups? Because if you asked, I can give you groups. Right? I can give you groups that are organized, who have structure, who have a national body, right, that are driving change in the country, right? Are you asking, like what she asks, are there platforms to help diaspora invest? Are you asking the questions? And are you asking repeatedly to different people who may know, right? Because if you ask enough, there are Haitians that aren't just asking. There's too many people like me who don't just sit around and just wait for the guy to fix it. There's a lot of Haitians that are actually involved in changing things. We're not sitting on the couch on the keyboard. We're engaged in change, and we're creating the same ideas that other people, hundreds of other people, man, I wish we had this. No, there's people actually doing these ideas. What you have to do is ask, who are these people, and how can I help them? How can I get involved in what they're doing? How can I donate my time? How can I donate my money? How can I donate my resources to help in this? Because they're being done. And you not asking who are the people doing it is not a valid excuse to tell others it's not being done and it can't be done, because it's being done. I do hope why SeeJeanty's here, we're showing that other side, that it's being done, it's being worked on, right? So I hear the construction crews outside. I am going to have to get off air. As always, I appreciate those who were able to come in, whoever to participate in the conversations we have here. If you found this conversation we had today was beneficial, make sure to share the stream. It's really important, because that's the only way we can really get a viral change in the country, is by changing these sort of conversations, sharing these conversations. As always, if it's your first time on the stream, make sure you hit that subscribe button. And we try to get here, at least this week, we'll be here Monday through Friday, 7 to 7:30. Starting next week, we'll be probably just Sunday mornings once a week so I can get focused on the book. But do catch these episodes this week. All right. All right, guys. Listen, until we're back at it again, we'll be back at it again. Peace.